if you're intentional about doing that systematically all the time, it's just a matter of time until you start making it rain for them and yourselves. And I hate to say it this way, but I think this is how it's perceived. It's less important when everyone's in the street getting fat because things are coming so easy. But when, shit really starts to shrink and constrain, that's where you get the fruits of the labor and the massive payoff. Because, if your lead cost goes from $189 to $247, yeah, that sucks, but it sucks a lot less if you still have 30% of your business being referral as opposed to 17% of your business being referral, right? So did you hear about the crustacean accused of promoting his own shellfish interests?
I did not.
I mean, okay, they don't all land, but you keep trying. Shoot your shot, and if you miss, shoot the ball again. Well, welcome back to another episode of the Mission Control Podcast with yours truly, Mike Stearns of Ascend Digital Agency. Today we've got Tim Brown. Welcome, Tim.
Hey.
Thanks for coming.
Thanks for having me, bro. I appreciate you putting me on.
Yeah, man, of course. And as always, thanks to Roofer. Great company. If you need instant quotes, roof measurements, clean and pristine proposals that give your prospects no choice but to buy, hit up the team at Roofer. Down in the description, there'll be a link. Y'all know what to do. Tell them I sent you. You'll be happy you did. Okay. Moving on. So what is lead gen, Tim? I mean, people ask me all the time, and they're like, hey, you guys do lead gen? And I'm like, yeah, I guess technically speaking, we do generate leads. But I feel as if there's usually a disconnect as far as what I perceive their question as and the lens that they're looking through. So what does lead gen mean to you?
I think the most concerning is when somebody's like, do you got leads? It's like, what?
I got any more of them leads, man?
You got any more of them leads? And they're talking about purchased leads. They're talking about like if they're used to Angie or Home Advisor or one of these resellers of or sellers of leads, right? Which is honestly, if we're real, is the bottom of the barrel of leads. It's right
Why
up
is
there.
That?
It's just because they are often, where do these leads come from? You've got different sources, right? You've got one place that commonly they come from is call centers, which there was no intent to purchase originally until they got called. They got called and then they got shoved into this label of lead. And then on Angie and Home Advisor, they are using every possible way to get out onto the internet, including very vigorous. They purchase Nextdoor and put their ads everywhere on there, right? And then calculators and then advertising so that people with some interest, and that's the thing, is like some interest, not necessarily like they're looking per se, but maybe they're looking for a price. And they have calculators on their site and they call that a lead. And then it's all deteriorated a little bit by the fact that they sell it more than once, right? If you sell a lead 4 times, it's really 25% of a lead. Because now, and it's the worst part is that you're competing with people. You have to lower your prices and you actually could wear out your salespeople from it. So those are what people sometimes are calling leads. And even worse, I had people at RoofCon that came up to us and were like, hey, do you have any like people that are going to go sell these to somebody else that are talking about like, do we buy aged leads? Aged leads? That's not a lead anymore. That's a contact, bro. You're going to give me something that I've got in my CRM from 6 months ago and sell it back to somebody else as a lead? Like, I don't know why people still fall for this. So the real contrast with a marketing partner and leads company, and I do think of myself as lead generation, but we're not like a lead selling company. The real contrast is that somebody's trying to help you build up your own house and somebody else is just trying to kind of sell you stuff that's like rehashed and garbage. I don't know. I mean, like obviously I'm saying that too strong for somebody to think I'm impartial. But the point is like we're talking about selling contacts. It's contacts more than a lead. So I just wish there would be people would be more accurate about what they're saying when they're talking about selling leads.
Yeah, and that's kind of I too think of our company as one that generates leads, but I also think that most contractors, and this is through my experience, and I guess I shouldn't paint with a broad stroke, but I'm going to. Most contractors I've dealt with when they're asking for lead gen, they're asking for a fixed cost per lead, right? I want to buy leads at this dollar amount from you, and I want to make money from doing that. And it sounds well and good, but as Tim mentioned, some of the unintended consequences of that pursuit is that you get recycled leads. You get people that are like straight up, I never asked anyone for a roofing contractor to come out. Um, with that being said, have you found instances where it's beneficial for a contractor to leverage a platform like an Angie or a Thumbtack, or any other type of lead aggregation service?
Yeah, I mean, well, I hear stories. I hear stories of it being successful, right? Like a few people in the industry that I respect that talk about lead aggregation. Chuck Toki talks about it. Chuck Toki says you have to have a system. Most people that use buying leads, they don't have a good enough system, which what he's really saying is you better be super on it, super quick. And I think it's also understanding that it's more of like it's a partially interested contact than it is like a super ripe lead. So you have to be much more aggressive with that prospect. Like you should almost treat it like we're going to go door knock again to this house that like we got a lead from. Like you almost have to take it a different route. Like it's a different, just like with Google is a different route than like door knocking, or like if somebody doesn't know how to close a local service ad lead, then maybe they're not going to close a Google ad lead because it's a different route, right? People don't know you that well. Same with these. So I respect his take on that. Jonathan Brose has said, they use this, sometimes they buy Angie leads, different things. He has said, I think he uses Active Prospect to confirm whether it's a real lead. I think that system essentially, it even provides a screen recording of them filling out the form on the website just to confirm that it's a real human being and to give a second. You need almost like a second party accountability structure in place for Angie. Because here's the deal, like that company is kind of known for some shadier ethics. And like that
Sure.
is where it comes down to like, from my point of view, it's like if you got to do all that, maybe I don't want your leads in the first place. But I mean, with a company like his, where they are a big growth company and they're taking every conceivable option for getting more leads, if you have a system in place, those are two people that I know that have talked about it in a positive way that I respect. Some of the people that I hear talking about it in a positive way, I'm like, I don't know if
Yeah.
like sometimes it's like 1 year it's good and then 1 year it's bad. So it's just hard to know who's accurate when they're talking about it. Those two people I do respect though.
Yeah. Yeah. Likewise. Shout out to John and Chuck. What I find is, yeah, for companies that use it with success, so these lead aggregation companies, there's a process around how the lead's going to be handled. And that process is actually followed. Big difference between having a process and following the process. And there's somebody who's responsible
Yeah.
for consistently keeping them honest, right? So, checking in on the quality of the leads and then disputing and going through. It's not as easy as like, a lot of the times Google local services is, where if you're disputing a lead, you click a button, you get an email 4 days later, your lead dispute has been resolved. Angie doesn't make it that easy. So you have to have somebody that has the time and the perseverance, the grit, the moxie to deal with the Angians on the other end of the line, to potentially hold them accountable in that event that takes place.
Yeah.
And I think that's, yeah, and it's been helpful. I've talked to some younger guys that are smaller companies and they've had success with it. Because I think that if you don't have leads coming in from 7 different venues, it's a lot easier to pay attention to that one avenue that's bringing you opportunities outside of
Mhm,
repeat referrals, word of mouth, and things like that. So
mhm.
yeah, that's what's my 2 cents for what it's worth.
Great 2 cents. And I think so just so people know, Angie's the biggest one. We got call centers is another big one. Angie has their stock has been slipping, right? For the last few years, stock slipping. Angie's List purchased Home Advisor, Home Advisor purchased Angie's List for the Positive Brand Association, and then applied all their systems to it and call it Angie. They fucked up their SEO. My little known fact, one of our SEOs got grabbed by the company doing SEO for Angie, and it was right about the time that everything was. And I was like watching, I was like, oh God, that was suck to have to do. It's a giant website, total redirect from angieslist.com to Angie. And we know how annoying these projects can be. You have to try to redirect every single page on the website to the corresponding page on the new website. And it's just this giant monster. And I'm sure some resources were lost when you have all these tools, these calculators on these websites and stuff like that. You probably lost a bunch of the stuff that was driving some traffic. At the same time, their stock was going down. But good news for the stockholders, or there was an increase in revenue at the same time that they are having less leads. How did that happen? I don't know. I don't know exactly. And this wasn't like now, this was like a year ago. So there was right now there's a decrease there is decrease in inquiries in general for home services, right? So I don't want to rip on them for any of that, but it was funny that the decrease in inquiries was also at the time where the revenue was going up, which means they were just selling less leads for more money. And that's funny. Right. That's funny to me for some reason.
Supply and demand, baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute.
Yeah.
Search volume goes down. We could speculate, right? Interest rates, borrowing money costs more, right? People, because of that, the economy is not great, or at least perceived, it seems like.
Yeah.
So in light of that, people tend to hold on to their money with a tighter fist and are more apprehensive to buy. And because of that, if you got 10 people clicking through to your website, they're probably less likely to get a higher percentage of those to actually submit a form than maybe 2 years ago. And then when you're having sales meetings, you're probably, if you're closing at 40% 2 years ago, maybe you're not closing at 40% now, just because everything is becoming much more challenging to ultimately convince that customer it's time. And then when you convince that customer it's time, convincing him that you're the best for the project. What are you seeing on your side as it relates to those statements?
Yeah. Pressure on lead price going up, right? There's pressure in probably every market, but particularly ones without storms. That's not super unusual. But yeah, and I don't know, I'm guessing you do something like that, but we talk about closed deals, right? We talk about what's closed. And so that conversation gets a little hairier when sales conversion rate goes down, because then it's is the lead quality down? What's going on? Its lead quality is down, I think, in more places, but it's not. It can't. That's what I was like. Is it marketing's fault? Is it, know what I mean?
Is sales or is it marketing? And it's just like the Spider-Man meme.
Yeah, right? Yeah, exactly. We're all pointing. It's not really. I think our smartest customers almost lead with it. They lead with hey, I know what's happening in the broader market. We still got to try to keep a positive look and try to get the best results we possibly can under these circumstances. Yeah. The worst customers of the worst partners of a marketing agency are the ones that go, they don't have one finger pointed at them, pointed at you. They've got both fingers pointed at you, and they're thinking agency's fault, agency's fault, agency's fault. And those are usually the ones that go through 7 agencies in 7 years.
Right.
Right. Like it's going to be tough, dude. It's going to be a tough next year. Like we're not dealing with like ideal circumstances in roofing or any kind of contractor or home service business right now. We're
Yeah.
lucky that people just still need roofs.
Yeah.
We're lucky that people still need roofs. And maybe some of this pressure that we're experiencing now is a foreshadow of insurance companies tightening up, over the next 5-10 years, where there's going to be less coverage on these roofs in general, right? Like the difficulty, it's going to be harder to close. So what do we have control over? That's all that we can do. And my company, it's different than in a roofing company. If I'm a roofing company owner, I'm thinking, how can I get more referrals? How can I implement? I like shout them out constantly, but Matt Danskin's restoration referral system. How can I? There's a new game in the market, restorationreferrals.com, or it's roofingreferrals.com, and it's by the dude Randy Hurtado from DT Roofing, and it's like kind of around insurance agents, realtors, and other people that often refer, and it's essentially like their recommendations plus an app plus a community. Anything you can do to increase referrals, and anything we can do to make it easier to purchase. And it's all complicated by the fact that like my game, I've been suggesting financing for a long time, and now that's getting harder too. So it's getting to a harder game. We're getting to a harder game. That's what I feel right now for roofers. And it's the same for everybody though. So maybe you just have less competitors in a few years.
Yeah. That's the silver lining of it. And I mean, if any of my clients are listening to this or are going to listen to it, you've heard it from me. It's probably going to get worse before it gets better, right? Mm-hmm. Buckle up. And like, this is why the conversations that we had a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago are so important as far as like building your brand, building a community of brand ambassadors, educating your previous, current, and future customers as far as how they can actually do the most for you as far as being your brand ambassadors with loyalty programs or referral programs, having a sticky name to that referral program. We got a client, his name's Rainworks. So we created the Make It Rain referral campaign.
Oh, that's awesome.
Right? So you get X amount of dollars for every roof. Here's a trackable link. Show them, educate the customer how to share it, where to share it, next door, Facebook groups, on their Facebook, whatever. But if you're intentional about doing that systematically all the time, it's just a matter of time until you start making it rain for them and yourselves. And I hate to say it this way, but I think this is how it's perceived. It's less important when everyone's in the street getting fat because things are coming so easy.
Oh, yeah.
But when, shit really starts to shrink and constrain, that's where you get the fruits of the labor and the massive payoff. Because, if your lead cost goes from $189 to $247, yeah, that sucks, but it sucks a lot less if you still have 30% of your business being referral as opposed to 17% of your business being referral, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's hard out here in these streets, bruh.
Dude, no, for real. No, this is so important. The things you're talking about, though, and like, we can just hope that some people go. I mean, it's hard to say because if you're one of those people that goes out of business, it's sad, but like that will happen, right? That probably is happening. Like we're seeing people that are eminently employable unemployed. We're seeing, like things like that are early indicators of kind of more pinched economic circumstances. So yeah, I'm like hoping for not a hard recession in 2024, but just like a little just like a little bit more of like a clear. Cause I feel like when it's like unclear, cause this year was unclear, I feel like, and now it's getting a little bit more clear. Is a little bit unclear, then people like do different things, or you're you're just not taking massive action when you should be, right? Like those types of things. And we talked. You and I had the podcast 1 year ago, and we were talking about this. And I didn't think it was going to be as hardcore as I feel like we're seeing it look now. Maybe it's just a year behind what we thought it might do. I think I was hopeful, and I was like, it's a little bit more hopeful. But
Hmm.
we were trying. Like, I think like it's real. It's real. Hey,
It's not real.
yeah.
I'll say that.
Speaking of referrals, though, you referred to us McCormick Renovations in Pittsburgh,
Oh, okay.
and they're working with us. So you got to tell me what I can get you as a gift.
Just send a referral back, bruh.
Michael and I have we didn't ever give each other any money for referrals. Like we've got a different game going, which was like kind of like we were ramping up the gifts a little bit. Like, so I got somehow, like, I think I got Mike a fridge, a Bill's fridge, and like a few other like trinkets, and then Bill, and then I don't know which order happened, but then Michael hit me back with a very nice bottle of cologne, and I've been still using it, and now I think I'm addicted to it, so I'm probably gonna.
It's a great cologne. It's a good one
It's
to be
very
addicted to.
good.
Yeah.
But basically, like, gifting is another strategy for referrals. So we might as well throw that real behind the scenes in here. Like, I think sometimes those are more impactful than money. For certain people, you talk to certain people. I think it's people with money, and I'm not saying like Mike and I have a bunch of money, but like for instance, like people in the industry, I've found in roofing industry, like it's definitely more impact because it's like kind of feels a little weird sometimes getting money because we're all trying to like in the industry, we're all trying to refer only the ones we really feel like are doing a good job. And like, so money feels a little weird because it feels like you're being affected by money sometimes. I don't know. I haven't had as much success with that for roofing industry referrals. Not to go too far into that because I know this is for roofers, but
Yeah. I mean, I think gifts are great. Like, and I think it's worth noting, like there wasn't an agreement struck where it's like,
yeah,
hey, if you start giving me referrals, I'll do this for you. It's kind of something that happened just by virtue of like you inspected our roofs, we inspected your roofs, and we
yeah,
approved of the work that you were doing, and vice versa. So when I'd gotten a referral from you and it panned out, it's like, yeah, let me do something nice for Tim, right? Tim and his team,
yeah.
or and vice versa, right? So it's like, and gifts, they hit a little bit different than money. For being honest, like
Yeah, like think
if you
about
go to a 14-year-old kid's birthday party and give them $50, they're gonna be happy. Maybe a 14-year-old kid's not great. Maybe a 30-year-old, right? If you got a friend who's 30 and it's his 30th birthday, if you give them 50 or $100, it's like eh. But if you get them something personalized, it'll actually mean something to them. I think it goes a little bit
yeah.
farther of a
I
way.
think that probably applies. Like my sister-in-law is a realtor, and no amount of money. She's doing very well. And no amount of money. My brother is a stay-at-home dad, and he loves it. And he's like, I like, anyways. But he or like if I gave them like $500, I just don't think he's like they're even gonna like they probably won't even open the envelope for a month or two. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But if you gave them like something based on what I knew he was interested in, if I gave him, fuck it, I won't even say a huge thing. I'll say like a bunch of pool toys for their kids for their third home in Florida, they would open it up and be like, that was so thoughtful. And we're so excited. And we're going to bring those and have a great time in Florida.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so just certain things, when you put it on a monetary level, I don't think anyone's going to be offended, but there's a like kind of a friend level. The book that goes into this stuff in real depth is Giftology.
Mm-hmm.
There's some relationships, if they can live on the gift side of things, it's like almost more impact, like you're saying. I think that's a great book. If anyone hasn't checked that out, check out Giftology. It's a very fun thing to get into, and it does take work, but it is fun.
Yeah, and I think that I think where most people fail on like the referral side is making it a systematic every single time approach. Like this is our process for educating the consumer like
Yeah.
that this exists and that they have an opportunity to earn and then show them the opportunity, like take that opportunity to show them the transparency, right? Like we can
Oh
actually
yeah.
track it. We can show you you're going to get compensated and here's what you can expect. I think that's one part of where people fail a little bit. And then
Oh yeah. I see that
the
for
other
sure.
side is like actually like paying people and going through with it. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
you got to keep track of this shit. Like if you're gonna put it
Yeah.
out there, otherwise it's gonna have the exact opposite effect on the brand that you want, right?
hmm
The idea is that we could build goodwill by looking out for
Yeah.
people that are looking out for us, and that compounds very, very quickly. And hey, there's financial gain from it, which never hurts in a capitalist society. But go ahead and not pay people for referring you and see how quickly that fucks your
Yeah.
game up. Like, that's a problem. But
Oh
there's
yeah.
like some,
There's some psychology in there, right? Like they talked about when you pay like your kid to read a book, weirdly it has the opposite effect sometimes because like especially it has a very very negative effect if you ever don't pay them.
yeah, yeah,
It will literally stop them in their tracks. Like the Pavlov's dog effect. If there's one time where it doesn't happen and you had been, it like has a very very like the studies on that are crazy. That it has a very negative effect on them ever reading. So your kid will just stop reading.
right. And this guy will stop referring you, and he'll probably blast you on Google for being a crook. So we don't want that. That
Yeah.
will have a detrimental effect to our brand. Don't do that. Make sure that you pay your people for referrals if you say you're going to pay them,
hmm
and you can get creative with it, right? Like I don't know, like what kind of gifts can you give people? Like custom doormat. If you're
Mm.
doing a referral program and you're giving them $250 a roof, get custom Visa cards made, like with picture of your team or picture of something. Like it's an opportunity for you to
That's
perpetuate the
cool.
brand while compensating them, right? Which
I
like
I think like one big one that like you could do for insurance agents or realtors or people with a brand too. Like I think like their brand is huge, right?
yeah,
Like if you get their brand on like a bottle of whiskey or their brand in a like cake or like for some reason people love that, and also you might get an additional benefit of like the social media post,
right.
that type of thing. So like for B2B referrals, that's a huge one.
Yeah, right. Like if I send Tim an Ascend shirt, how often he's gonna wear it? But if I send him some dope hook swag, which I haven't, so shame on me, you'd be much more excited about it, right? Because it's your thing. I mean,
Yeah.
it just makes sense. It just makes sense.
Yeah.
Hmm.
What do you really wear a lot? Like, what would you like, you know,
My heart on
just,
my sleeve.
just hypothetically, like you think about like, what is something somebody really actually would enjoy wearing? Like I tried with somebody in the industry and I did like their logo on the back of a jacket. I didn't think they really wear it, but you got to take shots. You got to spend a little money on these things and take some shots. It's probably going to be the ones that you go a little bit hard on, but I didn't
What
mean to
about
say
like
hard on.
what about like company branded cougar paws?
Oh yeah, that'd be sweet. That would be super cool.
It would have to be more so for like the owner operator, not the guy
Yeah.
that's removed, right?
Oh
Like so that know your audience and it would be relevant to somebody like that.
yeah. Think about like
Or you can
if
buy him a bunch of branded
you did
synthetic
like
underlayment.
oh, I've thought about that a lot, Michael, by the way. I've thought about I looked into pricing and everything. It's like $20,000 for like the minimum order on branded underlayment though.
You
And I'm
got it.
like,
Ball
well,
out.
okay, yeah. Okay. Exactly. I mean, no, it could be a strategy though, like as far as like talking to roofers. Think about what other branded items would somebody like if you're talking to realtors and insurance agents, like could you do like their logo on the inside of a suit jacket, the liner? I feel like the
Yeah.
only problem with that is like but like something like a little bit more creative where like they would like be really proud of it and excited. Like those are the types of swag items. Obviously, if you get them like 100 pens, they're probably going to be like kind of happy, but it's not like, you know
Pens
what?
suck.
100 pens would probably work, but the point is like trying to do creative stuff so it's remarkable, right? Like we're trying to do stuff that like kind of gets stuck in their head and they want to talk about?
Real estate agents and insurance agents.
Even like I was thinking like 3/4 zip. Like what could you do that's like a little higher end? Embroidery is always huge. Like if you could do embroidered items, and then it's like kind of getting your partners for this stuff. Like it's like can you roll it out kind of quick? Like can you get something to somebody in like 3 weeks? Like if you have a partner on embroidery, if you have somebody that like then you can roll stuff out quicker. You could do 10 quarter zips for your referral partner versus like bigger companies might need like 100 for a run or something like that. So I just think it's like, yeah, I'm trying to do right now. I don't think I can share my screen, but I'm working on a
you can
best
share.
Best damn roofer. Okay, you got the good that good Riverside. I think mine is limited. I'm trying to do here. I'll share my screen here. Window, entire screen. Let's see. Oh, here it is. So I'm trying to do a like little label for Fireball whiskey for a roofing process, and then we're gonna like hand out these little bottles of Fireball, but I'm trying to co-brand it with BDR. So referrals are fire, and then maybe the back is like our 3 unique value propositions or something.
Yeah,
because he's gonna be there playing music in our booth. So that was like our like activation style thing for roofing process. So we'll see how that goes. I mean, like
maybe,
I know
maybe I'll come by and drink a couple bottles.
Hey, you coming?
Probably not.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Baby's doing like a week, so.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That happened to me last RoofCon where there's a baby in the middle, and like I know, like I wanted to be there pretty bad. It was like a little like I was a little bit like, damn, that looks fun as shit. I was watching videos come out. I was like, oh man, but I think this year might have been a little bit better than last year on RoofCon, but
yeah, that's good.
Yeah,
looked like fun from the outside looking in.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a spoiler alert. It's usually more fun outside looking in. The FOMO thing happens.
Well, we lost him, but I want to take a moment to thank all of you who have taken a minute to take a listen to our conversation. You guys are the real MVPs. Once again, shout out to Roofer, and we'll see you guys again soon.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.